Hi everyone, this is Anna Sparks, your faculty facilitator for the Exploring the Humanities Learning Community. And this video is something that is ideally created for those of you who are just starting either Humanities 100, Humanities 200, FAS 201 or 202, and it's your first week or your first few days of the course, and you're feeling a little bit intimidated or anxious or nervous about starting a course that has to do with the humanities and the arts. And I wanted to give you some ideas and some strategies for thinking creatively to getting yourself started in the course. So thinking creatively. Let's say, for example, you're presented with this new concept, the humanities, or talking about works of art or man-made artifacts. And maybe you're feeling nervous, you're not sure how to talk about art. You have this idea in your mind that there's a certain way to talk about works of art. You're feeling nervous that art isn't your thing. It's not your area of expertise, and that others are more knowledgeable or more capable somehow of talking about works of art or approaching those questions that are asked of you. If you can approach this new concept and think creatively, you can approach it through your own comfort zone. We're going to talk about some ways that you can sort of come to this idea through something that's comfortable for you. You can get flexible with your thinking and think creatively about the assignments that are ahead. And just go ahead and allow yourself to take the risk and to get started. So some ideas to think about. Let's say your first assignment or one of your first assignments, this might look familiar to you guys, is choose two works of art and compare and contrast them. There might be more elements or details in that assignment, of course, but the gist of it is that you're looking at two works of art and you're going to compare and contrast them. And your feelings might be something like this. It's this daunting task that you have here at the beginning of the course. You've got all those feelings we were talking about before: nervousness, anxiety, feeling like art isn't your thing, you don't know where to begin, some ways that you can approach it. So, for example, instead of thinking, okay, I don't even know where to begin when you have an assignment coming up, you might instead think creatively and think, okay, this is going to take some time. So rather than having a more defeatist idea of I don't know where to begin and there's no point in beginning, you can just acknowledge and accept the fact that, all right, this is new, this is a new concept, it's going to take me some time. There's nothing wrong with that. You just know that you need to allow yourself a little bit of extra time. Instead of perhaps asking yourself, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to take this course? Why do I have to do this assignment? You can approach it differently. Whatever the reason is that you have to take the course, you can approach it more creatively and think, I wonder what I can gain from this exercise. So if it's a given that you've got to complete this course, you've got to get started and do these assignments, rather than focusing on the idea that you don't necessarily want to take the course, you can ask yourself, what can I gain from this? What are some benefits I can look forward to in accomplishing this and succeeding in this course and getting through it? What are some possible gains I can have by the end of this exercise? Instead of saying this is not my thing, this is not my area of expertise, this just isn't for me, you can open up your mind a little bit and think, okay, what if it was my area of expertise? I know that there are people in the world for whom this is their area of expertise. What must it be like for them? Think about something that is your area of expertise, something where you do feel comfortable and confident in starting to discuss a concept or an idea, and ask yourself, what is it that you do to approach that in your own way? What is it that you feel confident about? And see if you can't approach this new and somewhat daunting concept in that same way, imagining that it is your area of expertise. How would you begin? Rather than thinking, I hate this, I can't stand this. This is, again, sort of a more extreme version of the one before, that this is not my thing, but I hate this. This isn't for me. I really don't like this. You can ask yourself instead, okay, how can I make this more fun for me? Again, it might be an assignment or a course that you're required to take. So focusing on the idea that you don't like it or that it's not something that's for you isn't really going to get you anywhere. But if you can think more creatively about, all right, how can I make this more fun? What happens to me when I am enjoying some material or subject matter, and how can I turn this into something like that? How can I make a game of it? How can I make it a puzzle or a challenge or a riddle that can maybe make it more fun for me? Instead of thinking, okay, everybody else knows what they're doing and I don't because this isn't my thing, you can think, I wonder how others approach this. Chances are you are not the only one who feels like you don't know what you're doing. Chances are the majority of your classmates have those same feelings that you have in that first week, that they're not quite sure how to approach this new concept. And so it might be good to reflect on for a moment on how others might have done it, how they might have overcome that first hurdle, even reaching out and asking your classmates or your instructors how they might approach these things and sharing those sort of initial feelings of anxiety. You're looking at your works of art and you think, all I see is a painting, all I see is a sculpture or a building, whatever it is that you're looking at. That's all I see. That's it. How am I supposed to go from there? What else do I discuss? You can give yourself some other ways, some creative ways to get going. You might ask yourself some just simple, quick questions. Do I like it? Do I like what I'm looking at? Why or why not? Does it appeal to me visually? Why or why not? And let me start there. So, cutting yourself some slack, giving yourself a break, and acknowledging the fact that when you first look at something, you don't feel like there's much else there to start with. Where can you start? Give yourself a little bit of creative and flexible entry into looking at the works. And instead of thinking, all right, I just don't see anything, or I see just what I said before, that's just what I see in front of me, you can think of some creative tricks or ways of approaching it so that you can get going with it. One thing I like to suggest to students is to imagine that you're describing it to someone who can't see it. So you have to describe this work of art to someone who has either never seen it before or they don't have access to a reproduction of it or an image of it, and you have to describe it to them. How would you do that? How would you describe it to someone who's blind, who cannot see the work that you're talking about? That can be a good way to get into it. It's sort of a little trick you can play with yourself to imagine you have to describe it to someone who can't see it, and that can get you going, and that can help you just get started in many ways. Some resources for thinking creatively, and when I say creatively thinking, I don't mean just necessarily thinking like an artist. Thinking creatively is just another way of thinking about a problem or a challenge and working a way through it. So it doesn't necessarily mean thinking creatively like an artist. So some resources that you might consider to see some of the benefits of creative thinking that can help you with this